Hello and welcome to the 2019 Tenant Survey Training. This is an online survey administration training for building transportation coordinators or properties affected by the Transportation Management Program. Today we will be covering the basics to administering the tenant commute survey at your property. Here's a brief agenda for what we will be covering in the presentation today. First and foremost, why do buildings survey? At the time the building applied for a master use permit, a review of the project was performed to determine the impact it would have on the neighborhood's traffic and parking. If it was determined that the proposed development would significantly impact traffic and parking in the neighborhood, a transportation management plan was required as a condition of the permit to help mitigate the impact. Included in the transportation management plan is a performance goal. Typically, this will be a drive-alone rate goal that the building must meet. The city monitors performance toward your building's goal through a survey of your tenant commute patterns and a building facilities and amenities report. The tenant survey is what we are learning more about today. This survey measures your building's progress towards your goal along with providing a snapshot of your tenant's employee commuter habits. Information collected about the building's commuter habits can be used to hone your building's current facilities and offer new amenities and commute programs to your tenant businesses. This will help you better achieve your performance goals outlined in your transportation management plan. TMP requirements are pretty simple. First, completing the tenant survey happens in the odd years. The last time we did this was in 2017. We're doing it now in 2019, and we will continue to do it, and the next time will be in 2021. Second, you'll complete a building facilities and amenities report in the even years. The last time we did this was in 2018, and we will do it again in 2020. Finally, you're required to assign a designated building transportation coordinator for your property. So when does your building survey in 2019? Well, the survey is open for 2 weeks long, Monday to Friday. In 2019, we have 3 different windows your property can survey in. The first one, October 14th through the 25th. The second, October 28th through the November 8th. And finally, the third, November 11th through November 22nd. Who is your survey audience? Who is required to survey? Buildings are required to survey all full-time permanent employees of tenant businesses. A good rule of thumb is to survey employees working at least 35 hours per week. Some buildings have detailed transportation management plans that outline who exactly to survey. If you do not have the original document, please contact Commute Seattle after viewing the training, and we can connect you with your TMP agreement for more information. Who is not required to survey? Current tenants that survey under the Commute Trip Reduction Law do not need to survey because they are already captured. Their results can be blended with your building's tenant survey. Commute Seattle works with these employers affected by the CTR law. These companies are companies who have at least 100 people commuting to your building during the morning peak commute hours, typically 6 to 9 a.m. If you have questions about which tenants in your building are affected by the CTR law, please reach out and ask us. We are happy to help. Other people that are not required to survey include non-peak hour commuters. For example, ground floor retail in an office building. Also, seasonal employees, interns, or other temporary staff are not required to survey. The only people required to survey are full-time permanent employees that are working at least 35 hours per week. Let's look over the survey process. First, you'll want to register your property for the 2019 tenant survey. Most of you have already done this. Way to go. If not, please register for your survey window by Friday, October 11th by contacting tmp@commuteseattle.com. The only information you need to submit in the registration is your TMP property name and the total number of employees in the building. This number will exclude companies affected by the Commute Trip Reduction Law. Again, if you're unsure which tenants are affected by the Commute Trip Reduction Law, Commute Seattle can help you identify them. The total number of tenant employees determines your response rate. More on that later. Next, Commute Seattle will confirm your registered survey window and set you up in the online Washington State Department of Transportation survey tool. Next, you, the building transportation coordinator, will notify the appropriate tenants about the survey and when it needs to be completed. Depending on your current outreach methods and how you normally communicate to tenant businesses, you will either communicate with tenant employees directly or work with a lead at each of your tenant businesses. Next, the survey is live. You, the building transportation coordinator, will send a survey link on the first day of the window to your tenant employees or to the tenant leads at each of your tenant businesses. Next, you want to check your response rate in the online WSDOT survey tool at least twice during the survey. You need at least a 50% response rate to have a successful survey. You can send reminders to tenant employees and tenant business leads that have not completed the survey yet. Commute Seattle will close the survey on the last day of the survey window, for example, Friday, October 25th. We will also confirm your building has met the 50% response rate threshold for a successful survey. Here are some fundamentals to the survey. It only takes about 5 minutes for a person to complete, start to finish. You heard me mention it a couple times. A minimum response rate is required for all surveys. Those that do not meet the 50% response rate threshold will need to do additional steps to be compliant with their TMP agreement with the City of Seattle. Surveys are administered through an online survey tool developed by the Washington State Department of Transportation. Commute Seattle will provide you with an administrative login to the WSDOT survey tool and a web link for tenant employees to use to take the survey. So how do people in your building take the online survey? Commute Seattle creates a dummy domain name for your building in the WSDOT survey tool. People will log in with a dummy email address to be able to take the survey. There are a number of benefits to this method. First and foremost, you're able to do targeted communications for each tenant business. There is also easy access for the entire building. You do not need more than one domain name for this method. Also, you will not need to derive an email list from each of your tenant businesses for each of their employees. Let's walk through an example. For 1809 7th Avenue, we have 3 tenants in the building: the Wonka Corporation, Dunder Mifflin, and Average Joe's Gym. Our property manager has asked each tenant business how many full-time employees they have. Wonka Corporation has 10 full-time employees. Dunder Mifflin has 28 full-time employees. And Average Joe's Gym has 45 full-time employees. Commute Seattle has created a dummy domain name for this building in the WSDOT survey tool. The dummy domain name is 1809seventheavenue.com. The property manager has communicated the dummy email address convention, the naming convention for each of the tenant businesses and their employees. The naming convention for individuals is their first name, last initial, company name, at 1809seventheavenue.com. For example, Olivia H., Average Joe's, at 1809seventheavenue.com. In the WSDOT survey tool, you can run a report on who has taken the survey. This allows you to track each respondent for each tenant business. So if you see that only 10 people from Average Joe's completed the survey via their email address, the naming convention mentioned previously, you can target the tenant businesses and send reminders to them about taking the survey. This is a great way to ensure you surpass the 50% response rate threshold and have a successful survey. Tenant businesses are probably interested in what the survey asks. You can instruct them to demo the survey with these instructions. You'll open an internet browser, you'll enter a mock email address using abc.com as the domain, and you can use the drop-down menu to select the training site. and then complete the survey questions as followed. The survey will only take 5 minutes to complete. So what happens after you finish the survey and the survey has closed? Tenant survey data is processed and a survey report is developed by the Washington State Department of Transportation. A survey report is sent to the BTC, or Building Transportation Coordinator, by Commute Seattle. Commute Seattle will debrief the results with the BTC or property manager over a free consultation. Depending on your drive alone rate performance, we can consult on amenities, facilities, and connect tenants and businesses with commute resources and programs such as Orca for Business. Commute Seattle is here to make this process as seamless as possible for you. If you have any questions, reach out to tmp@commuteseattle.com. Thanks for watching and happy surveying.